and it's on that page that they start to feel sorry for themselves. You know, a lot of people, they stop themselves from their ability to be who they are, to really start to get down with that part of their challenges. You know, and we start asking ourselves that type of question on a daily basis when we're looking to overcome it. And where do we sit down to study it? When do we sit down inside and start to see that kind of beauty start to radiate outwards? You know, when does energy start to come out from within? You know, when do you start to apply your energy in such a way that your ability starts to be used? And it's inside of ourselves that we start to ask that kind of a question. You know, I look at the challenges that each of you face off against. I look at the stories that are shared. I look at the people and the type of mentality to move forward, the type of ability to put oneself in a place where they have the ability to move forward. And it comes from the ability to pick yourself back up. It comes from the ability that no matter how hard you get kicked down, that you can remember that you can get back up. You know, it's inside of that that I wanted to build a community. It's where I started to ask myself the question, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? Because if it's not one of the three, I don't want it to be a part of my life. You know, how do we start to get ourselves on that page where we allow the things that are meant to come in our direction to start coming in our direction? And it starts to come from the ability to ask yourself that kind of question, to ask yourself, is this going to give me the ability to move forward in my life? Is it going to give me the ability to be who I am? Do I focus on positivity? Yes. Are you putting yourself in a place where positivity becomes a primary foundation? That's the thing that we need to truly be asking ourselves. We need to be checking in on the ability inside of ourselves to ask that question. We need to be sitting down inside of ourselves to recognize where other people's minds are coming from, what they're thinking, how they're thinking about those kinds of challenges. Because each of us is going to have a challenge. You know, the challenge that we face off against is realistically finding out what's going on inside. It's going to be finding out the ways and to be who you are. You know, a lot of you have things that nobody else can do for you. You have things that nobody else will be able to do for you. And it's only going to come out of you when you're willing to get to that point where your challenges are able to become overcome. You know, each of us have a place inside of ourselves that we look inside, and a lot of other people might be doing better than you in life. You know, when do you give yourself the ability to be grateful for what you do have, for the challenges that you face off against? Because we do all of us have challenges. We each have things that we look for in ourselves, and a lot of us look for things in other people. It's not until we start to look inside of ourselves, it's not until we start to focus to the point where the challenges no longer have the ability to be greater than you are, that you start to utilize them. And how do you utilize your challenges to your advantage? You know, a lot of us have challenges. You know, a lot of the times the things that we think we can't overcome are mostly what we truly can overcome. And so when do we start to get to that part where we start overcoming our challenges unless we give ourselves the ability to become challenged? You know, it's only going to happen for you if you put yourself in a place where you have the ability to have to get back up. You know, I think back to a lot of different skills, and one of those skills happened to come from video games. You know, the ability to actually get beat over and over and over again and have to do something in a certain way that, you know, it's almost like a precise timing. In some of these video games, you got to be so precise. You know, 1 second too late and the whole group is wiped out. And so that can happen in life too. You know, if you don't do the things that you're meant to do, if you don't put yourself on the page where you utilize what you have, then your mentality isn't being used. You know, a lot of people, they fall short because they don't give themselves the ability to have those kind of challenges. if you don't give yourself the ability to have those kind of challenges, how do you know that you can't overcome them? And so it's inside of that place of focus that, we start to recognize it. It's when, when you start to say, hey, come on, let's go ahead and try this. Let's go ahead and try a little bit. Just write stuff down just a little bit. Just put it in front of ourselves to where you even test yourself, right? If you test yourself in your challenges, if you test yourself in your ability, then you start to realize that you can use your challenges. I mean, it's amazing for us to have the ability to overcome our challenges. And each of us has challenges. Each of us has things that, it's going to take your mentality. It's going to take your ability to be who you are on the inside. How do we find that page to where we have what it takes? Each of us is going to sit down inside of our mentality until we find ourselves, until we find our ability to work through our challenges. And that's all they are. They're just equations waiting for you to start to pick up. They're waiting for you to start to focus through. They're waiting for you to start to utilize. What kind of challenges do you go through? What kind of place is this world that you want to live? Like what types of things do you want to achieve? What types of things do you want to become? What types of things do you want to manifest in your day? We got to ask ourselves those types of questions. How can we become game changers in our lives? How can we start to manifest our being? How can we start to give ourselves the ability from within to radiate outwards, right? And what does it take for you to get there? What does it take for you to start to focus through your challenges? Because each of you are going to have challenges. You're going to have things that you're going to have to work through. And so what are some of those things that you work through? What are some of those things that as a community we can put ourselves in a way that we can overcome our challenges within ourselves, right? And I started to ask myself that type of question. And I'd like to ask you that question. How do you cope with challenge? How do you work through things? How do you put yourself on a page where you start utilizing the gifts that God gave you? See, each of us have challenges. It's easy to put it on somebody else, but what about you? How do you deal with things? And I started to ask that question. I started to get down with the place where focus lives. I got to start to realize that to create a foundation requires focus. And as you sit down with yourself and you start going through your challenges and you sit in the pool of you, it's till you sit in that darkness, till you pick yourself back up, until you start to manifest your beingness, until you start to believe in yourself and your purpose and your challenges. Let your reason be your foundation. Let it be the reason why you focus so hard. Let it be the reason why you're willing to make it through challenges, because you believe in yourself. See, a lot of people, they don't believe in themselves. They believe that somebody else has to do it for them. They're searching out approval from somebody else instead of looking inside of themselves. And so when the energy is, they're looking elsewhere for the energy instead of for within. I remember being inside the sauna and doing meditation, and I remember people that were holding so close to the world that they didn't remember inside is where the universe lives. Inside of you, the outside is a vibration of what's going on inside. And it's truly a level of focus to achieve that. It's truly a level of focus to get to the place where what's going on inside starts to radiate outwards. It's what's going on inside that matters the most. It's when you're willing to start to sit down with yourself and overcome your challenges. It's when you start to become who you are on the inside that the world starts to radiate outwards. It's when you're working through that part of yourself that the ability inside of oneself manifests outwards. And each of us have that capability. I looked at the Steve Jobs speech about, there's people that created this world are no smarter than you. So that means if you sit down and you study yourself, that means if you start to get into your challenges, that means if you start to get down with the things that go on inside, that you can build a more beautiful world for yourself. You can build a vibration, you can allow that person inside to radiate outwards. But it takes you sitting down, it takes you putting down the things that you truly want to achieve. Blessings. It takes the mentality to overcome one's challenges, comes from within. It comes from within you. It doesn't come from the outside. And it's when you achieve it for yourself, when you start to manifest that level of your being. And a lot of people will seek out your level of motivation when you're willing to focus to the place where other people won't go. A lot of people say you will achieve things when you want to do it. When does your focus get to the place where even when it's not happening, it's a part of the process for it happening, right? You know, have you taken the ability to see the beauty in that? Have you taken the ability to see the beauty inside of yourselves? You know, each of us have that place for ourselves. We have those kind of challenges. We have that kind of future that's up to us to build for ourselves. You know, we try to put it on some other place or some other thing. When do we sit down inside of ourselves? You know, no matter what happens here in the US, I'm still going to continue grinding. I'm going to continue putting out videos. I'm going to continue putting your mentality up. I'm going to continue putting it in place where we use what we have, where our challenges no longer are greater than we are on the inside, where our level of focus has the ability to overcome our challenges, because that's really what goes on. It really goes on inside of you. It really takes from within you to overcome your own challenges. It takes from within you to believe in yourself. It takes from within you to be who you are on the inside. And a lot of people have been stopped at that page. They've been stopped before they get through those kinds of challenges. They don't allow themselves to overcome their challenges. They don't allow the people that aren't meant to be in their life to move out of the way on their own. Blessings. Hello. It's got to stay PG rated but positive, okay? How you doing?
What's up?
How's it going?
Good.
Where you
at?
Arizona. Where are you calling
Nice. Guess where I am?
from? Arkansas?
Far, far away.
So where you at, brother?
Lapland.
Where is this?
You know?
Where is La Plan?
Lapland.
La Plante. Where is that?
You know Nordic countries?
Nordic. Very good.
Nordic countries.
Yep. So it actually snows up here. We actually have some snow on the snow tops. You guys got some snow out there in the Norwegian countries, right? Nordic, right?
Yeah, Nordic countries. Yeah, we are in Finland.
Oh, very good. I have a friend, he actually does nature walk in Netherlands.
Cool. Now we got snow. Pretty much. Last night we got minus 40 degrees here.
Okay, yeah, we're at about a 34 Fahrenheit right now. A couple degrees above freezing, you know.
Yeah. Well, minus 40, that's the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius, so.
Sure. Well, welcome. I know the Periscope is only going to be around a little bit longer here. I am on multiple networks. I am talking about positivity and overcoming challenges towards the end of this year. So,
Nice. Well, continue you then and have a good rest of your life and next year.
Oh, it's a blessing. I've been through a little bit of Europe. I went to the United Kingdom. I went to Paris, Madrid, and Porto, Portugal.
Nice. I've been to those places too.
Yeah, the world's a beautiful place. Have you have a chance to make it here? It's a really great place to visit as well. The U.S. has got its own
Been to the U.S.
Oh, very good. Where have you been in the U.S.?
Oh, everywhere in the on the East Coast, but mainly in Maine.
Okay. So
I
you
got relatives in Maine, but I've been to all the way to Key West on the East Coast. Also some rural Canada.
very good. I've been to Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
Black.
You have a good one.
You as well. Blessings, brother. I could definitely
God
tell
bless.
that your mindset is in the thought process. Whatever you do in your life, you use yellow a lot, huh?
That's a good guess.
No, it's not a guess, my friend. I read energy. I've been doing it for a decade. So you use a lot of your thought process in your being, and part of the way in which things happen around you. And that's why when you start to think, a lot of people come into your ability for you to, they come at you in a way of logically. So whatever you're doing in your day has to deal with logic.
That's right.
So that's because I've been reading energy for the last decade. I've actually been doing meditation since I was 27 and I'm 34. I spent 5 hours in a sauna before doing meditation without even exiting the sauna. So
Oh, you like sauna?
I used to meditate. Yeah. I mean, literally, I meditated for 5 hours before walking out, and then I walked in and out for additional 3 hours. But I've been doing meditation for a long time.
Nice. Did you know we have more saunas here in Finland than people?
Sun is a very special thing, especially the way in which I do meditation. And the exchange changes the temperature to where the brain says that even 160 or 190 for those traditional saunas, the ones that are real, not this electronic stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, wouldn't.
Either way, if it's 160, 190, I could stay in there for a very long time. I mean, I can.
Yeah.
And so, but with meditation, once I've closed my eyes and I've headed into meditation, the ability to stay in there is endless. I wanted to challenge myself to 24 hours, but I mean, I didn't really have the means around me to sit in the sauna for 24 hours. Otherwise, I would have done it, you know?
Yeah. But you have to connect those two things. One is sauna, and the other one is you go to swim in a hole in the ice, and then after it you go back to sauna. That's very meditating too.
When you're in the ice, you can meditate in the ice. See, it's about
Yeah,
breaking the
gotcha.
bond. It's about the bond with the elements. In your sauna, you're trying to connect that to that heat and to decompress it. When you're in the cold, you're trying to connect with the water itself. So when one wants to master both, it takes time per each element. And I'm not talking about just hopping in a sauna for 30 minutes and then hopping in the water. I'm talking about reaching a capability like I did in the heat, or reaching a capability for like a wind hop type of method in the water. You know, it's the same kind of thing, but the ability to do that comes from your mentality. It comes from one's ability to overcome their challenges. It's wonderful to use ice in that way too, but it matters the
Yeah.
most is that where you are in your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I was doing long periods of time inside the sauna, it had a lot to do with the ability to face off against the challenges that I was actually facing off against. You know, there was a period of time when I was meditating and I was in the sauna and I was sleeping in my van for 2 months, you know. And that's when I started breaking through barriers, when the things outside are not greater than you are. You know, like you face off against heat so that you can go within. You know, and I used to remember watching people walking out of the sauna in 30 minutes or an hour, and I was continuing. And I'd remember they would go out and work out, and I would still be inside of the sauna, you know, with cross-legged meditation, and I'd be in there for a lot longer than they were even in the gym working out, you know.
Yeah.
It's liberating, almost, in a sense. And it's beautiful that you guys have the ice to be able to do that as well too, huh?
Well, that's the only thing we have. Ice and snow. Half a year.
Yeah. Half the year, well, the other half has got to have beautiful green trees, huh?
Oh yeah. And endless light.
Well,
Like in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. is almost like the same as 2 p.m.
yeah, because that's part of the world. You're dark half the year and light half the year, right?
Yeah.
And then that actually tests to see how focused you are. Because when it's daytime 24/7, you still have to sleep at some point, and you still have to get up at some point. No, there's a lot of people that don't have that level of discipline. They don't actually, if the sun doesn't rise, they don't wake up, you know.
That's right.
And so those kind of challenges are beautiful when you embrace them. I'm sure you've been doing that for a long time. How long have you lived there?
My whole life.
Yeah, so I'm sure if you went to places where it was dark and light, you'd be like, this is cool. But a part of you would feel like, this is kind of weird. It's different. Why are they not always sunny for one part of the year?
That's right.
And,
Cool, but you know, gotta go to sleep one day. It's actually now. Let me check. That's 3:09.
all right, brother. Blessings, okay? Blessings to you.
Cool. You too. Have a good one.
You as well. Great talking to you. Hey.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome. Wow, that was a great conversation there. Pretty cool. Got a call in from the Norwegian countries. So other people welcome to call in, get this conversation going on. You know, like I'm out here in Prescott, Arizona. We've been talking about focus, knowledge, and discipline. And we were just talking about how in the Norwegian countries, part of the year is completely sunny 24/7. So what happens when you want to sleep during that time? Are you used to ending at a certain time, or do you put yourself in a place where your mentality has the ability to do that? And you know, a lot of those people that are going through that, that's what they're used to. So what about when you reach out into places that are different than that? What about when you start to focus into the other things that matter? You know, a lot of things that we are introduced to happen to come from culture. They come from our parents. They come from the people around us. You know, a lot of people in a certain area speak a certain way, whereas people from other areas speak a different way. That's where the level of focus lays. It lays inside of yourself to want to learn for yourself, to actually start to want to use the mentality that you have. And it's a reminder that, you know, we have night sometimes, and that can be a blessing, that it can lead to day. What happens when you have day 24/7 for half the year? You know, what happens when the only thing you know for 6 months of a year is snow? Can you pick yourself up then? And a lot of people are not used to that unless their mentality gives them the ability to overcome their own challenges. And so what brings somebody joy when they're in a snowy area? You know, like today it snowed here. You know, what happens when we see that and we start to see it as beautiful? When do we start to see the mentality as positive? And can we see that and actually embrace that ability inside of ourselves to be beautiful for ourselves? You know, I remembered wanting to help out other people as I was inside the sauna. You know, I had somebody who was sleeping next to me in a Prius, You know, he had gone through a car accident. You know, he was sleeping in his Prius. You know, right now I'm sitting inside of this car with a reminder of that. I'm with a reminder that this is a blessing for us to be here. You know, for the challenges that we go through, the things that you're gonna go through in your life are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They're absolutely there for you, and it's only gonna happen when you want it to happen. You know, and a lot of people, they disable their own mind, they disable their own ability, and freedom comes from within. It comes from the ability to overcome your challenges. You know, one of the greatest things that I had to learn was to wash my own clothes by hand. You know, at a certain time, I'm not in that place anymore, thank you God, but I was grateful for it. I was grateful for those kinds of challenges. I was grateful for the ability to have those kind of blessings that I could really truly start helping other people out. You know, each of us have that kind of challenge that only you can face off against. You know, that happens to be my story, that I was with somebody for 8 years, that I wasn't able to truly be who I was on the inside, that they didn't truly love me, they didn't truly know me, they only wanted me to be the things that they wanted me to be. When do you want to be yourself? You know, I want to help those kind of people out whose companions are telling them otherwise from being who they are. You know, I want to help those out that are hearing this message and asking themselves those types of questions. They're trying to see if it's possible to make it through their challenges. And it is possible. That it takes you not comparing yourself to somebody else, blessings. It takes you giving yourself the ability to have that kind of mentality, to have that kind of permission to be yourself. You know, when do you start speaking your own mind? When do you start getting down with your own challenges? When do you give yourself the permission to go within? And it only happens when you sit down with oneself and you focus to the place where you decide to create a foundation and focus, when you start to grind on your challenges, when you start to grind on your ability, when you start to give yourself permission to be who you are. And a lot of people stop themselves from that. They get with people that aren't bringing them closer to themselves. They get with people that aren't helping them to achieve their dreams. They get with people that won't let them go through their own challenges. And it's when we allow ourselves to do that, when we allow ourselves to be who we are on the inside, it's when we allow ourselves to work through that part of who we are. You know, a lot of us must focus past our challenges, because when you start to do that, you have the ability to make it through them. And it's a blessing that we have challenges so that we can focus through them. You know, if you put yourself in a place where you start to use positivity as an angle, you know, you'll start to see amazing things happen. If you start to put positivity as the ability for you to search out positivity. You know, I came across a situation today where somebody was so much into the speed of their mentality that they actually stopped themselves from reaching the level of approach. They stopped themselves from achieving their own ability. They disabled their own mind. And it's inside of that place that we recognize that. And I remember when I was working after doing telesales, going into car sales. And in the beginning of doing car sales, I remember the mind was faster than the body. You know, sometimes we have to slow down the mind to reach the body. Sometimes we have to reach from within ourselves and become who we are, human beings. Because we are human beings. And we do have levels of understanding. We do have levels of mentality. We do have levels of challenges. And it's when we start to overcome our own challenges that the key inside starts to radiate outwards. It's not when we are continuing to search for the wrong kind of energy. And I mean negative energy. Were we searching for positive energy? Are we searching for a positive mentality? Are we searching inside of ourselves to see how to overcome our own challenges? Are we seeing how to use this journey? And so as we start to head inwards into our journey, we start to see that vibration start to work. we start to see that ability start to work. You start to believe in yourself. You start to work through the things that only you can. And are you giving yourself the place to study you? Are you sitting down inside and starting to ask yourself the question why that didn't work out? And you're starting to find the solutions inside of yourself. Are you starting to see that when you are faced off against challenge, when you're faced off against things that only you can do? And, are you able to challenge the mentality at that level? A lot of us stop ourselves from getting to that place. And the reason why we do is because it's been bred into the culture to not continue to focus past your challenges, to stop at your level of challenge. It's only when you get frustrated to the point where you liberate yourself, where you start to see the mentality, where you start to become your best friend inside of you. Only you can do that for you. And each of us have that place to center ourselves. It's not going to happen if you don't give yourself that kind of time. And a lot of us don't sit inside and just simply breathe. Simply sit down with yourself and close your eyes and start to breathe. Start to allow your mind to work. Start to allow your energy to flow. Start to allow your ability for you to be who you are to manifest. Start to allow your ability to open your mind. And a lot of people stop themselves from opening their mind. They don't wake themselves up within. They don't give themselves the essence within themselves. They don't give themselves the ability to be qualified. They search out some teacher elsewhere. And that's not where the teacher lays. The teacher inside of you. The lessons inside of you. The challenges inside of you. The emotions, the pains, the fears inside of you. They're all waiting for you to make it past them. They're waiting for you to enjoy the challenge. Enjoy the mentality. Gain the level of learning. To be a student in your life, to see how other people are thinking, to see how other people's mentality works. And we each have that place inside of ourselves to start to ask that kind of question. Where do you go inside to reach that page? How do you start to find, at work, I was able to stand my ground because my energy was right here. In this part of my life, I was able to voice myself because my energy worked here. My breath connection within myself was to gain that level of student within. Those are the types of true challenges that we face off against daily. And it's only when you start to give yourself the permission to face off against those kind of challenges that you give yourself the ability to work through them. So, some people use the ability to work out in the gym. Some people use the ability to write. Some people use the ability to sing. And each of us is going to go through a challenge. Each of us is going to go through different things inside. We're going to be asking ourselves, is this what we truly want? And it's going to be you versus you. It's not versus somebody else. It's not to search for a fight from somebody else, because we already have enough challenges inside of ourselves to start to overcome them. And I've done many jobs. I worked for Chrysler. I did telesales. I've driven more than 4,000 customers. I've done food deliveries. I've done videos for over a year. I want to inspire you to study yourself. I want you to sit down with you and start to grind on your challenges. I want you to start to focus to the place where what is going on inside matters, and where you start to become positive in your being. A lot of us stop ourselves with that kind of mentality of not having a positive mentality, having positive challenges, having positive ability, having the ability to be an able mentality, not a disabled mentality. There is no such thing to me as a disability. There is only a mentality to be able or disabled. And so I remember having a learning disability. Okay, I'm 34 years old, and I can tell you the only disability that I was ever diagnosed with was the ability to overcome challenge. Okay, to find a way. You know, I've seen people with no arms stand up. I've seen people with autism meditating next to me in a sauna asking me how to do it. I've seen people that you wouldn't think is possible achieving dreams for themselves because they know themselves better than you or I do, because they learn from themselves. They learn that this didn't work, and the only things that we learn is how to find ourselves, how to find our beauties, how to find our challenges. And when we find them, it's up to us individually to find ways to overcome them. You know, we've seen people with mass autisms in manager positions. You know, there was just a guy who was an intern in the White House with full autism. And I don't go into politics, okay? That's not my place. My place is in a place of positivity and thinking about things in a way of what's going on inside of you, all right? I'm not in a battle versus anybody else. I live in a world within where I face off against the challenges that are going on around with that kind of mentality. If whoever population is, it's just either an ability or disability to overcome. And so that's not something that I talk about, okay? It's not something that I'm a part of, because what I focus into is mentality, all right? It's the ability to be who you are on the inside. It's to ask yourself 3 questions. Is this motivation? Is this meditation? Is this inspiration? If it's not one of the 3, I don't want it. And not doing drugs, okay? Utilizing the thing inside of you, the energy inside of yourself. Like when people go in a sauna with me, it matters how much they have the ability to achieve their mentality. You know, what happens when you bypass 2, 3, 4 hours at 160 degrees or even 190? You know, what happens when you're grabbing a glass of water this big and you need 3 or 4 of them? So it ain't versus somebody else. If you want to become the best in your profession, don't compare yourself to somebody else. Compare yourself to you. Become your greatest fan and become your greatest challenge inside of you. And I remember that when I was working for Chrysler, when I was selling cars, that I would get my butt kicked and I would pick myself back up. And no matter who it was, I wouldn't compare myself to anybody else, because what was going on inside is what mattered the most. And I always found myself first and second place, even though I was working more hours than any of them, hands down. I was working for a dealership for 50, 60 hours a week, and I was driving 35 to 40 on top of that. I was basically sleeping less than 3 hours a night, 4 hours a night for an entire year. And I sold cars for 2.5 years. You know, when I left there, it was because I wanted to liberate the mind. And so I want to share that with you, how you can do that for yourself. I want to share that with you so that you can overcome your challenges. I want to share that with you so you could put yourself in a place where you can become the best in your professions. You can become the best in your art forms and to perfect your crafts. And it's inside of ourselves that we first have to understand ourselves. We first have to start to get to know ourselves. We first have to start to become that kind of vibration in the universe. When the universe starts to become your friend, and I mean truly become your friend, when you start to see how other people's mentality works instead of being upset, when you start to overcome your challenges by growth, by the understanding, the growing that you are a beautiful being within the universe. And it's only with that kind of mentality that we start to achieve it. And each of us have that kind of place inside of ourselves. It's only with that kind of focus that we gain access to that ability to overcome our own challenges. So how do we start to do that? You know, when does that start to become a part of you? When do you start to give yourself that kind of permission to go within yourself to that level? When does your level of focus as a foundation overcome your challenges? When does your level of mentality give you the ability to bypass that place, to find the place of understanding within? When do you start to become patient with yourself? You know, a lot of people want to get the degree. They want this degree, but they don't spend the time sitting down with themselves. They don't spend the time to qualify for that degree. You know, when do we give ourselves that place to sit down at that level of patience? Because it really matters. You really matter to your world. You really matter to your life. You really matter to be able to speak your mind, to be who you are on the inside, the beautiful person, the mentality that you have. And you matter to not disable that mentality. You matter to encourage that mentality to grow, to mature, to understand oneself, to gain access to the things that nobody else can for you. And when you let other people be that person, it stops you from inside of yourself, stops you from inside of your mind. And it's when you give yourself that place in your mind, the ability to overcome those challenges. It's when you start to allow yourself to slow down in mentality, to slow down in ability, to be who you already are. And you all are sons and daughters, and you are beautiful in the eyes of God. You are beautiful inside of your being. You are a positive force in the universe. You are energy. You are all a light in this universe. Whether it be a light or dark, you are still an energy. You have a breath. Your breath, biblically, is talked to be close to the breath. You notice that even biblically it talks about meditation, close to the breath. What is meditation? It's the ability to master your being with your breath. You know, God breathed life into man. And so we are man. We are a human being. When do we become present in our knowledge? When do we become present in our focus? When do we become the human being that we are inside? When does that vibration vibrate greater than this thing that we have? When does the universal connection become you? And it's not from putting one into a place where it's a challenge versus somebody else. We can see positive things that happen. We can see positive places that we go. But it's inside of our mind that the mentality starts to liberate. It's inside of the mind that the ability to overcome one's challenge comes from within. It's when we recognize that we are human beings and that self-knowledge is a reflection, is self-love. Not when we allow the emotion to be stronger than the mentality. Not when we allow the emotion to be stronger than the ability. You know, I will be on the face of the planet for however long this breath in my body lives. You know, that is a great thing to have that place, to have my life. And so are we going to focus past our challenges? Are we going to get to the place where we utilize that kind of ability inside of ourselves, where we're focusing on positivity, we're focusing on the ability to overcome the challenge, we're finding a way to make it past the challenge? And each of us have that ability inside of ourselves. We have that ability inside of our level of focus. We have that ability to overcome our own challenges with our mentality. And so that's where liberation lays. And it's inside of complete darkness that one finds themselves. It's when you have to pick yourself up. You know, and a lot of business owners, for instance, those people that reach universal wealth, they find universal wealth when they're tired of having to deal with other people's stuff and they want to do it for themselves. Do you want to have somebody else tell you where to go? Do you want somebody else to tell you what to do? Or can you go within? Can you truly find that page inside of yourself? Can you truly find that manifestation inside of you? Can you find that level of liberation for yourself. And it literally is when you give yourself that point where it's not about anybody else anymore. Okay? It's when it's not about somebody else. It's about what's going on inside of you. It's when you're willing to sit down with yourself. It's when you're willing to focus on your challenges. It's when you're able to give yourself the ability to be the beautiful person that you are inside. It's when you truly see you. It's when you see yourself as a universal tool, where your journey is worth it, where your path is worth it, where your being is worth it. When you become present inside of yourself, truly present inside of yourself, you will start to overcome your challenges. And that's a beautiful thing for us to have challenge. I see people who come in to the channel and they try to troll it. They try to stop the ability to continue. I've been at this for over a year. I've been meditating for nearly a decade. I only see them bringing positivity in my direction. I see them bringing the people that are meant to be there, because that allows the negativity to go on its way. It's up for you to allow people that are positive into your mentality. It's up for you to allow people that are positive into your vibration. And it's up for you to let the people that are not meant to be in your will move out of the way on their own. Because they will. They will find their way out if you do not allow them to have that place in your mentality. It's your mentality. It's not theirs. It's for you to dominate it yourself. It's your challenges to overcome. It's your ability to see joy in your day. It's up for you to find your peace inside of yourself, to start to understand oneself within, to gain that level of knowledge. Is when people start to see you as a place of discipline. They see you as a place of reflection, which is the third part, which is inspiration. And when we are inspiring people, the people that are meant to be in our life start coming our way. And that's how it works. It works when you will believe in yourself. It's when you are willing to be honest with yourself. When, other people might say, don't dye your hair a certain way. I shave my head because it's what I like. It's when you believe in yourself to that point where you are able to be who you are. When you're positive. When you are in your level of mentality. I've seen lots of people, in all kinds of people, stop themselves from gaining that place. They stop themselves from enabling their mentality. They feel like this is a trying time. This is not a trying time. We've had trying times throughout time. Each of us has a journey. We are on that journey. We each have challenges. We each have things to work through. We each have limitations. Limitations have been here all along. So how do we find the positivity in them? Well, one of those ways is by finding the ability to make it through challenge with mentality. And finding a place of positivity within yourself is that ability to give yourself an ability to work through your own challenges. And I have found that that is a great tool. I have found that when one uses their focus and their knowledge together, and they don't allow themselves to become handicapped by their situation, that they can make it through situations that other people would call impossible. By doing that, by making it through those kinds of challenges, the vibration starts to vibrate in such a way that amazing things start happening in your life. And it's only asking yourself the question, is that the kind of thing that you want? Do you want that in your life? Do you want that type of person around you? Do you have that kind of need to vibrate with that kind of energy? And when you start to become positive, when you start to find that place of discipline where you're only searching for the mentality, you're only searching for the ability, it's when that mentality starts to open up that we overcome our challenges. And that place is called the place of understanding. And it isn't going to come from somebody else. You're not going to learn from your books from somebody else. You're not going to learn from somebody else how to do everything. It's going to come from within you. It's going to take your ability to be positive with yourself. It's going to take your ability to be who you are on the inside. It's going to take your ability to face off against your challenges that are going to get you to the place where you want to be. And it's when you inspire other people, when you hear this type of message and it truly starts to uplift you. Because I already know, I already see the 30, the 40 views that I get plus or more per video. Okay, so if you're not interacting on the exact network, I recommend you to, because definitely you are watching these videos later. I am seeing these people watching these videos later. So, and leave the comments. Leave comments. I enjoy comments. Recognize that whatever gets thrown is going to be turned positive. So recognize that it's best to leave a positive vibration, because what you put out comes back to you. Okay? So let the universe fight your battles. Let the universe do the work for you. Let you be yourself. Let you be who you are. Find that place of discipline to become friends with the universe, as Einstein stated. Become a friend with this universe. Become a friend with the equation. You know, I reminded that I had a friend who locked themselves out of their car. And we went to the car and I told them, you just have to figure out the equation. Okay? The universal equation for your life is that you are on a journey. That you have a breath. That you have a level of focus, you have a mentality, you have an ability to work through your challenge. When you connect your focus and knowledge together, when your whole being starts to become the human being that you are, when you find that place inside of yourself where you continue to put your ability to go through your challenges to the test, when the universe starts to work through you, when the ability inside of oneself is that kind of a place where, you know, we focus to that point where we utilize it inside of ourselves, and each of us have a place inside called you. You know, have you spent time to reach that place? Have you spent time to be that essence of the person, the beautiful person that you are, when you are honest with yourself, when you enjoy the things that you enjoy, when you're honest to that level? So where do we give ourselves the ability to use that? You know, where do we sit down to the point where we have the permission to be who we are? And I want you to be inspired to be yourself. I want you to see these times as growth. Not as a challenge, but a actual literal growth. You know, as we grow, we find understanding and knowledge inside of ourselves. We already have knowledge within. When do you give yourself permission to be sufficient inside of you? When do you give yourself permission to be the beautiful person that you are? When do you give yourself the permission to utilize the mentality that you have? Each of us have a level of focus. It's when we use it. And it's in liberation that the mentality frees itself. It's when you understand that this had to happen so that you could be right where you are right now. And that is present within your being, present within your focus, present within your knowledge, centered within oneself, centered within one's level of understanding. Discipline is a beautiful thing when you apply it. You know, each of us find a way to make it past the challenge when we apply our mentality, when we apply our ability. You know, the point in being a human being or connected with the being is to be present. It's not to be outside using something else, some other presence, to be aware of oneself. It's when we become aware of oneself and we use the energy inside of ourselves to produce that. It's when we give ourselves permission to be present on a different level, understanding and being yourself. Think about the mere fact that you're a human being. You are a being. You have a mass. You have an energy. You have a magnitude within yourself. You are a wealth within the universe. And it's a beautiful thing to be who you are. It is a beautiful thing to go through the challenges that you go through. It is a beautiful thing to become uplifted and to see inspiration in the universe. Because each of you are an inspiration to me. When your mentality starts to work, I enjoy how you think. I enjoy how you process. I enjoy how you work through things that nobody else can for you. And it's only when you put yourself in that place where you utilize it, where you truly utilize what's going on inside. None of us are the universe. We are all tools in the universe. Your parents call you children. The parents call you children. The children call them parents. Even if you have no parents, even if you have a boss, anything you look at is a tool within the universe. How do you utilize your own tools? How do you utilize the ones that are inside of you? How do you utilize the ability inside of yourself to be who you are? Is the question that we should be asking ourselves. Because beauty is in mentality, okay? You know, two people can go to a lake and one will see the beauty in the lake. The other one is absolutely miserable because they're negative about the ability. So the situation sometimes we feel is greater than ourselves, and we miss out on the beautiful things in life. And it's when, you know, like I've been to a physical therapist more than once. I've had multiple injuries, okay? And I've had things that would leave other people in a place where they would just end up in a wheelchair. And it's only because of the mentality that I am where I am. You know, the 21 physical therapy visits for my hand that I had when my hand was hit by a truck. The displacing of my hips, the elongating of my neck. Okay? And the feet giving out on me. You know, I couldn't run for 2 years. But I never said to myself I couldn't run. I always said, I will run. I will put myself in a place where I can overcome this. And I had to work through stretching out my feet. I had to go through things that, you know, it was just very difficult. And that's a part of the learning from it. It's the accepting that you are a blessing. It's the accepting that you are a part of the process, that you are a human being, that you have challenge, that you have things to work through, that the things that you work through, the people, you know, you might not do things perfect. At least try. At least try. You will at worst learn that those were things that weren't meant for you. You will learn that those things that were not meant for you were meant for somebody else to use that angle. Focus into a level of positivity within yourself. Focus into a level where you open your mind, where you open your mentality inside of yourself and you free you. Free yourself from your pains. Free yourself from your emotions. Free yourself from your fears. Find the knowledge past them. Find the knowledge in the place inside of you where you find yourself, where you find your discipline, your focus centered within one's being, centered within one's focus. And then you will find the qualification to be yourself right there in the dark when you become your best friend and you pick yourself up. I want to light up your world in that way. I want you to connect with that network with this kind of power, with this kind of energy, with this kind of purpose, that your universe is a blessing, that your being is a blessing, that you are a blessing within this universe, that the Most High God made you and I, and that you can overcome your challenges by being who you are. When you're honest with yourself, you become the being inside of you. When your knowledge and your focus is applied, the level of discipline radiates a reflection of inspiration. And that's the the reason why I ask myself this question every day. Is this about motivation? Is this about meditation? Is this about inspiration? If it's not one of the three,